Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how to give and, just as importantly, receive constructive feedback in the fast-paced world of computing. Look, whether you're building out complex software architecture, managing really intricate cybersecurity protocols, or just keeping the lights on in IT, how we actually communicate with each other can absolutely make or break a project. So we are going to give you a definitive guide on mastering this absolutely crucial skill. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with Section 1, Why Feedback Matters in Computing. Then Section 2, The 4 Pillars of Good Feedback. Section 3 covers a framework for delivering it. And finally, Section 4, How to Receive Feedback Effectively. All right, diving into Section 1, Why Feedback Matters in Computing. To kick things off, we really need to establish why feedback is basically the lifeblood of our industry. It is so easy to think of computing as just interacting with machines, right? But fundamentally, it's a collaborative human endeavor. Whether you're pushing code or securing networks, constructive feedback drives 3 critical outcomes. It actively improves code quality by catching those sneaky errors or optimizing logic that a single developer might easily miss. It strengthens team collaboration by making sure everyone's actually aligned. And honestly, perhaps most importantly, it fosters professional growth. Nobody levels up in a vacuum. We absolutely need the insights of our peers to sharpen our skills. Moving right along to Section 2, the 4 pillars of good feedback. Let's look at what actually makes feedback constructive. Because let's face it, not all feedback is created equal. The 4 pillars are clear, specific, actionable, and respectful. If your critique is missing even just one of these, your message is probably going to get lost, ignored, or worse, it'll just cause unnecessary friction. Let's break down exactly what each of these looks like in the real world. Starting with our first pillar, clarity. Avoiding vague statements removes all that ambiguity so the recipient knows exactly what you're talking about. If you just leave a comment saying, "This needs improvement," you're leaving your colleague completely in the dark. What exactly needs improvement? The syntax? The architecture? But look at the alternative. Stating, "The logic in this function is unclear," removes all the guesswork. Next up, the specific pillar. Broad generalizations usually just put people on the defensive because it feels like a personal attack on their competence. Saying your database design is inefficient is a great way to start an argument, but pointing out the exact mechanical issue, like the lack of indexing slowing down those queries, helps them understand the precise technical problem without feeling attacked. Now, to make feedback actionable, you have to provide a clear, concrete path forward. Telling someone their UI is bad doesn't give them a clue on how to fix it. Good feedback should be like a map, suggesting a more intuitive color scheme and explicitly mentioning the placement of navigation buttons gives the developer actual concrete steps they can execute right away. Finally, respectful feedback. You've got to frame the critique to encourage growth and respect the effort they put in. Phrases like, "This is completely wrong," will instantly shut down learning and just create a toxic vibe. Instead, acknowledge the effort. Saying something like, "I see where you were going," keeps things positive and professional while still guiding them toward a better, more maintainable solution. Let's apply this to a scenario we've all seen, reviewing a junior developer's code. If a senior dev just writes, "This is messy," well, that's incredibly demotivating for the junior. But if you combine our pillars and say, "Consider breaking this function into smaller, reusable functions to enhance readability," you are actually teaching them, not just dunking on their code. And hey, this totally applies in a cybersecurity context too. Security audits require ridiculous attention to detail. Just saying you left out important information is completely useless. But telling a peer they have a great foundation while explicitly asking for details on encryption protocols turns what could be a harsh critique into a collaborative win for your security posture. Okay, Section 3, Framework for Delivering Constructive Feedback. Knowing the pillars is great, but having a repeatable process takes the stress right out of those code reviews. This simple 4-step playbook is exactly how you do it. Step 1, start with something positive to acknowledge their effort. Step 2, be hyper-specific about the issue. Step 3, offer your actionable solution. And Step 4, which honestly might be the most important, encourage a dialogue. Let them explain their thought process. Because, sometimes there's a totally valid reason they built it that way. All right, let's pause and flip the script for a second. Giving feedback is only half the equation. How do you actually handle the feedback you get from others? Which brings us to Section 4, How to Receive Feedback Effectively. Receiving a critique can be tough, no doubt about it. It's totally human to feel defensive when someone points out a flaw in your hard work. But adopting the right mindset here is the absolute key to your career. You have to listen actively, which means you aren't just waiting for your turn to argue back. Ask clarifying questions if you're not sure what they mean. Keep your ego in check and avoid defensiveness. And finally, thoughtfully implement those changes to actually make the product better. Let's look at our really practical example. Imagine a senior computing student who has spent hours and hours designing a database schema, only to be told by a mentor that their tables need to be normalized to reduce redundancy. Now, instead of rejecting the advice and getting defensive, this student actively applies our steps. They ask for clarification on exactly how it should be normalized, they do the research, and then they successfully revise the schema. They didn't just blindly accept it, and they didn't argue. They turned the feedback into action to make the database infinitely more efficient. That right there is the absolute gold standard. Feedback should always be a two-way conversation. Good communication in computing requires an open, proactive dialogue. Whether you're the one giving the critique or receiving it, it is not a one-way street. You have to talk to each other, discuss alternative solutions, and figure it out together. So I'll leave you with this thought to ponder before your next code review or sprint retrospective. Are you treating feedback as just a one-way critique, or are you actually using it as a mutual tool to build better software and stronger teams? The next time someone comments on your architecture, remember to stay open-minded. Keep it clear, specific, actionable, and respectful.